The history of science is like a pristine display case. It only showcases the success stories. We were taught that Johannes Kepler was the great genius who discovered planetary orbits and solved the mathematics of the sky. And that is true. But there is another truth hidden in the footnotes of history books, whispered about in academic circles. The father of modern astronomy, Kepler, dedicated his life more to astrology than to astronomy. Most historians dismiss this as merely a source of income. They say he needed money, so he entertained the rich by writing horoscopes. This is the greatest insult to Kepler, because when we examine Kepler's letters and his book Harmonices Mundi, The Harmony of the World, which no one took seriously at the time, what we encounter is not charlatanry, but a lost theory of physics. Kepler saw astrology not as fortune-telling, but as the geometric code of the universe. And the most interesting part is, he might have been right. Let's rewind the story. The year is 1595. Kepler is a young mathematics teacher in Graz, Austria. Low pay, no status. To earn extra income, he is forced to prepare annual almanacs. These calendars were astrological bulletins predicting the year's weather and political events. Kepler looked at that year's sky map and made a risky prediction. This winter will be freezing cold, and the Turks, Ottomans, will push the borders. The prediction held true. The Alps froze with unprecedented cold that winter, and the Ottoman armies launched a serious movement toward the west. This hit instantly made Kepler Europe's sought-after seer. However, here is the critical detail. In his letters, Kepler argued that this was not star magic, but a purely geometric necessity. To him, planets were connected by invisible strings in space, and when these strings tightened, chaos ensued on Earth. In those days, Kepler would make that famous confession in a letter to his teacher, Michael Maestlin. Astrology is the foolish daughter who must feed her mother, astronomy. If this foolish daughter did not exist, that wise mother would starve. But Kepler was determined to educate this foolish daughter and transform her into a woman of science. Kepler's astrology was completely different from today's newspaper horoscopes. He did not believe in signs. Yes, you heard that right. For Kepler, being a Taurus or a Scorpio was meaningless. He viewed the zodiac belt as a man-made ruler. Kepler's obsession was aspects. He believed that when two planets formed angles of 60, 90, or 120 degrees relative to Earth, a resonance occurred in the universe, just like the sound produced when a guitar string is struck. In Volume 4 of his book, Harmonices Mundi, he writes, "The human soul is designed to respond to the geometric harmony in the sky. When planets come together to form a triangle or a square, our soul recognizes this shape and begins to vibrate." This is a bioresonance theory, revolutionary for that era and still debated today. According to Kepler, Saturn didn't curse you. A 90-degree angle between Saturn and Mars bent the magnetic field in the atmosphere in such a way that the circadian rhythm in the human brain was disrupted, plunging you into melancholy. In other words, Kepler was not talking about fate, but about physical interaction. In 1610, the scientific world split in two. One side completely rejected astrology, while the other clung to superstitions, demons, and spells. Kepler stood right in the middle and published his manifesto, Tertius Interveniens, the third man in the middle. Here he wrote that sentence which has been quoted for centuries, but often taken out of context. Be careful when cleaning out this pile of superstition. While throwing out the dirty water, do not throw the baby out of the bathwater. That baby was the physical effect of the planets on Earth. Kepler believed Earth possessed a type of consciousness he called anima terrae, soul of the Earth. Today, we call this the magnetosphere. Kepler claimed that the angular positions of the planets created changes on the surface of the Sun, which in turn altered the Earth's mood, its weather, and human psychology. While modern science is just now proving that sunspots and solar winds affect human heart rates and stock market movements, Kepler sensed this 400 years ago, without even a proper telescope. So, did this theory work in practice? Here is the most striking proof of data archaeology, the General Wallenstein file. Albrecht von Wallenstein, the most powerful general of the era, asked Kepler for an analysis while hiding his identity. By looking only at the birth time and the geometry of the planets, Kepler analyzed the character of this man he had never met with frightening accuracy. Ambitious, ruthless, lonely, and prone to violence. But Kepler issued a warning. In the report, he wrote that the year 1634 would be critical and deadly for the general. The positions of Saturn and Mars at that date showed a geometric conflict. When 1634 arrived, General Wallenstein was assassinated in his bedroom by his own officers. Did Kepler see this coming, or had he simply calculated a statistical probability? According to Kepler, he had not seen the future. He had simply calculated that Wallenstein's spiritual geometry was incompatible with the sky's geometry in 1634, and this dissonance would lead to chaos. Just like an engineer calculating the resonant frequency of a bridge. When Kepler died, the scientific world took his laws but buried his philosophy. When Newton turned the universe into a mechanical clock, there was no room for the soul in that clock. Astronomy went into the laboratory, and astrology was exiled to the circus. But today, as we discuss quantum entanglement, solar cycles, and how magnetic fields govern our biology, perhaps it is time to bring Kepler's dusty notes down from the attic. Perhaps astrology is not a lie rejected by science, but a premature science whose mechanism we have not yet fully decoded. Is the baby still in the tub? Or have we already thrown out the water? Look at the data and decide for yourself. This is data archaeology. To understand, keep searching.